Worthless characters. One Piece has a lot of them, but in my opinion, none are more hyped up and worthless than the Navy Vice Admirals. For you see, time and time again, they show up in a big way and set the standard for the current arc, like in Marineford when they joined the Admirals and Sengoku in the war against Whitebeard, or more recently when they arrived with Saturn to Egghead to kill both Vegapunk and the Straw Hats. They are almost always hyped up to extreme lengths to excite interest into the current arc that we arrive in, but almost always end up sucking in the end. Sure, there's the minor exception to Vice Admiral Garp, who as you well know is an absolute powerhouse and somebody who ranks well above many in the One Piece top 30. And yes, his current rank is a Vice Admiral, so does that mean that the Vice Admirals aren't all that weak? Well yes, but realistically Garp could have been a Navy Fleet Admiral anytime he wanted. He only really decided to stay as a Vice Admiral for the entirety of his service to the Navy to allow him more freedom in the world. So of course you could argue that Garp isn't actually a Vice Admiral, or at least Vice Admiral level. Which means, and I don't think many of you would actually disagree with me on this, you can't use Garp as a redeeming factor for them. They are absolutely worthless and Garp is just an individual who's incredibly strong. Hell, you could argue the fact that some of the Navy captains are even more powerful than some of these Vice Admirals. Just look at Kobe and the stuff that he did on Hachinosu. He has, in my opinion, far surpassed anyone that we have seen in the Vice Admiral region. So in my opinion, that also means that you can't use Garp as a redeeming factor for them, because even mere captains appear to be doing far more than them on the battlefield. They are by far the Navy's most useless group, and potentially up there as some of One Piece's weakest characters of all time. But why am I only choosing now to make this rant video about them? Well, once again, in One Piece chapter 1125, the Vice Admirals gathered to apologize to Saturn for failing to stop the Straw Hats. But honestly, that's not the part that really annoyed me. The part that really annoys me came moments later, where these clowns had the audacity to ask if they could go to Elbaf to hunt down the Straw Hats. Like realistically, why would Saturn ever send these worthless tits to the home of the Giants and Shanks? Like think about that for a second. These guys who just failed to stop the Straw Hats on Egghead, a place where they had help from Admiral Kizaru and the 5 Elder Stars, wants to go to the island and presumed home of the strongest man in the entire world. Like honestly, what are these guys smoking to give them such misplaced confidence to ask Saturn something like this? Like think about it, on Egghead they had only like 5 giants to deal with, and even that was too much for them to handle. So what would an entire village of giants do to them? Well, I'll tell you, much like the rumbling from Attack on Titan, they'll be stood on and eaten by many of these giants, and their entire fleet of ships will be left in mere pieces in the middle of the ocean. But now I'm not unbiased to the fact that they weren't always so worthless and meaningless within the series, and maybe you could argue that it's just the fact that our boys and girls have finally surpassed them in strength. But in my opinion, as one of Navy's so-called mightiest forces, they really need to start doing more. Like personally, I'm not expecting or asking them to shine like the Admirals or stand out like the Seraphim. But I'm asking that when the time comes that we finally see Vice Admiral Smoker once again, that he doesn't just show up as a worthless hype-up measure. Give that man some respect. Have him defeat somebody of note, maybe one of the red-haired pirates or one of Blackbeard's crew. Give him something, some sort of win, because maybe then I can take back everything I've said in this Vice Admiral video and we can start seeing them as a threat to Luffy and the others that sail the seas. Because in my opinion, right now they are nothing more than worthless fodder and no different than the untrained soldiers. But I don't know guys, I just think that something has to be done with these Vice Admirals because I'm sick of seeing them time and time again show up as a hype up measure but then never really achieve anything within the series. It's just starting to become boring and predictable, and honestly, the use of them being a hype-up measure is getting less and less impactful. Like if I see them on the screen at this precise moment, I start to think that oh, all Luffy has to do is use his Conquerors and they'll be knocked out, because at this point, they are as worthless as the other Navy officers. But like I said, this is just a little rant video on a topic that I've had in my mind for quite a while. I don't really know the fix for this, I just know that maybe using them less might make them more impactful when they finally show up, eventually in the future. Or having them show up and actually achieve a win for once might make them more scary to us. All I do really know is that if we continue to see them in the same light that we are currently seeing them in, then it's only just a matter of time before they start to drag down and make arcs worse just by being in them. But I don't know, maybe I am the only one that's actually thinking this about the Vice Admirals, and maybe they are actually somewhat strong within the series. It just doesn't appear that way as of right now, and I would really love Oda to focus a bit more on their development. But now I think that's going to do it for me in this video. If you somehow enjoyed me ranting about the Vice Admirals of One Piece, then please hit the like button down below and subscribe for more videos like this. Because I'm almost certain to not like something else that pops up in the future and make another rant video about that as well. So if you're interested in that, then join us on this journey. But for now, like I said, that's going to do it for me. Have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and peace.